The following story was extremely difficult to research accurately, and its time frame was just prior to the infamous Corleonesi who were in motion to taking over the Sicilian Mafia. History has demonstrated the Corleonesi put forth a well-thought-out plan and would use anyone and everyone in their power who could help them achieve their ultimate goal. A great deal of these people, or rather pawns, were in fact used and later rewarded with their own deaths. Back then, a person took a significant gamble who sided with the Corleonesi. There hasn't been too much discussed as to how they would repay loyalty that was shown to them. That is, if the person was permitted to live. However, one such person I'll now speak about, Agostino Badalamenti. And if his last name sounds familiar, it's due to the fact that the former boss of Cinisi and former head of the Sicilian Commission, as well as the person who was the head defendant in the Pizza Connection case, was Gaetano Badalamenti. Although Agostino, according to what I was able to find out, was not a relative. Gaetano Badalamenti did have a nephew by the same name, Agostino, who was killed in Germany in February 1984. Allegedly, that murder was carried out by Roberto Palazzolo on behalf of Toto Riina and Bernardo Provenzano, and this was according to the testimony given by Rosario Naimo. Nevertheless, the Agostino Badalamenti that I'll be speaking about was the son of a butcher, and on August 23, 1979, at the age of 19, he committed a murder. The victim, Michele Lipari, was dialing a number at a phone booth at 10 p.m. in a piazza in Carini, Sicily, when a blue Vespa carrying two people pulled up and shots rang out, hitting Lipari. The Carabinieri happened to be in the area and began chasing the Vespa. A few blocks away from the crime scene, the driver lost control and the moped tipped over. The two men scrambled and tried to flee by splitting up and running in different directions. One managed to get away and evade the police. Badalamenti was caught because he chose to run down a dead-end street. When the Carabinieri approached, he pointed his gun at them, causing them to shout out, "Stop," or they would kill him, at which time he surrendered and laid down his weapon, which was a .357 Magnum that had 4 missing bullets from its cylinder. Lipari was rushed to the hospital but died an hour later. Badalamenti was transported to the police barracks in Carini. And according to reports, he only spoke twice, once to give his name and address, and to ask for his lawyer. Other reports have him stating, "I had tried to make a call, he was wasting time, so I killed him," which I truly believe to be inaccurate, because that would equate to a confession, which didn't happen. It was additionally reported that he said several times, "I want my mother." All of this is contrary to a statement made by one of the interrogators, who said the following: "For such a young man, he was hard as nails and wouldn't talk." Agostino Badalamenti ultimately took an insanity defense and managed to avoid a life sentence. Nonetheless, he was committed to an asylum where he served approximately 18 years. He was released sometime in the late 90s, possibly 1997, and upon his release, he opened up a bar in Palermo. And at some point, he was inducted into the Mafia. And by 1999, Corleonesi boss Bernardo Provenzano appointed him as the boss of the Porta Nuova district, a family once headed by Giuseppe Calò, and the same family that Tommaso Buscetta belonged to as well. As for Badalamenti's time as boss, there wasn't an arrest on file until 2003, where he was accused of mafia association and extortion. And I know I'm repeating myself, but for those of you who are unaware, mafia association, whether you're a boss, member, or actually an associate, is a crime in Italy, unlike the United States. I was unable to find any kind of disposition for the outcome of that case. And this could be due to the fact that 2 years later, in 2005, Badalamenti died. Just prior to his death, former member and cooperator Fabio Manno told investigators of a plot to kill Badalamenti. Fast forward 12 years after his death, something strange took place. That being, Badalamenti's body was exhumed. The Carabinieri who opened the coffin discovered a rusty Italian-made pistol and a utility knife inside with his remains. Apparently, This was based on information given by Salvatore Bonamolo, who began cooperating with Italian law enforcement after his 2016 arrest as a fugitive in Venezuela. He fled Sicily after receiving a 10-year sentence in absentia. Bonamolo, at the time, was the former boss of the same family that Badalamenti once led, and he's actually a cousin of his as well. He told investigators that he was instructed to place a pistol, a knife, and a pack of cigarettes in Badalamenti's coffin. I guess the authorities were verifying if the information Bonamolo was providing them was actually true, which it was. The Sicilian Mafia, in similar fashion to other mafias, are known to groom and use young men, just like Agostino Badalamenti. These young men are referred to as picciotti, expendable soldiers, and in most cases, killers on the street. Many came from families related or linked to the mafia in one form or another. Senior members would act as mentors to these young men, and as mentioned, they were sacrificially used for dangerous and covert missions. The Corleonesi did just that with Agostino Badalamenti, and most likely Bernardo Provenzano was his mentor. The hit Badalamenti carried out in 1979 was just prior to the Corleonesi wreaking havoc on the bosses in Palermo and their push to take over the Sicilian Mafia. In fact, there were a few hits leading up to that, and Michele Lipari may have been one of them. But the question remains, what was his significance? I honestly couldn't find it. Obviously, the Corleonesi wanted him killed, but was he a relative of Vito Lipari, a mayor in Castelvetrano, killed by the Mafia in August of 1980? He might have been. At the time, the boss in that area was Francesco Messina Denaro, Matteo Messina Denaro's father. Or was he related to Giuseppe Lipari, who was very close to Bernardo Provenzano and Tortorina, and considered to be a consigliere for Provenzano? But his significance remains unknown. What is of interest is the Corleonesi picked the 19-year-old Badalamenti to carry out the hit. In addition, he was permitted to plead insanity. Back then, this was unheard of by mafia standards. To do so was considered a weakness. And it's possible the defense was allowed due to the fact that he wasn't yet a member. But who knows? What we do know is, as a reward for carrying out the hit, Badalamenti was not only inducted into the Mafia, but given a boss position of a key family under the Corleonesi rule. Keep in mind, he was only in his 30s at the time. If you haven't liked this video yet, please take the time now and give it a like, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. Anyone who'd like to show their appreciation for videos like this, or more importantly, help me to continue making them, you can donate with the Super Thanks icon down below, or through the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. Let me quickly mention my blog, also called Sit Down News, especially for those of you who still enjoy reading. The site can be found at sitdownnews.com and is a paid subscription. It's important to note, the significance of the gun and the knife in his coffin shouldn't be lost on viewers. It's the same objects that are present during an induction ceremony.